Okay. So this is gonna be an awkward video because I don't have anything prepared and I don't think I'm really gonna give a f about me. Oh wow. First curse word. Oh, okay, so let me just give you guys some context. YouTube has updated their guidelines, and as such, it will affect my channel because, as you know, I curse like a sailor. You know, I'm kind of like out there with, you know, I basically just say things to get a rise out of people because I find it to be funny. And as such, I'm kind of in trouble. On one hand, I have not been affected by this yet. I do believe that I will be affected by it at some point, but when that is, I don't know. As far as my channel goes now, it's gonna have to undergo changes, and these changes are gonna be significant, but hopefully not that noticeable. I'm gonna be starting off the censorship campaign of my channel by in future videos basically using bleep noises whenever I curse. This is to avoid my video getting flagged and me not being able to make money and thus having trouble paying my bills, because as some of you might know, I don't make a lot of money off YouTube, but the money I do make I use to pay my rent and also to keep my drug habits going. And as such, I feel as if I'm kind of like in a dilemma at this point, because this whole ordeal comes from the advertiser campaign of YouTube. Basically, the people who pay to have their ads shown, they're being kind of reluctant about the whole thing because, well, some videos take radical stances on issues that might be kind of controversial and others just, you know, are out there and offensive. Now, the thing that interests me, or just makes me kind of beg a few questions, is the fact that being offended, as I've stated in the past, is completely subjective. You can be offended by anything. Like, doesn't matter. It's up to your interpretation how you decide to react. And because of that, I feel as if this is not going to be something that YouTube will cling on to for too long, but as far as they do, I want to play it safe. This is not me taking their side. It's just me doing, you know, making a choice based off of the consequences, because if I decide to stick to my original format, I will be in deep doo-doo. God. So, and because of that, I just have to do this. If I don't, I'm gonna have trouble paying my rent, and I don't wanna have that on my back. I just wanna be a person and not be homeless. I like that. I like being able to not die on the streets. That's kinda like my hobby, being alive. I'm gonna stop being a sarcastic jerk, and I'm gonna start just talking about whatever I want to talk about. So, as I stated, I don't have any plans for this video. I have no bullet points, I have no script, I'm just speaking my mind. Hopefully that won't be too controversial for YouTube, perhaps. Let's go through the guidelines. I have them on the actual screen. Maybe I'll put up a screen cap of them. So, advertiser-friendly content guidelines. Advertiser-friendly content is content that's appropriate for all audiences. Now, as I stated, no. You cannot be realistic. You cannot realistically do this. Because in doing so, there's still gonna be people offended. There's still gonna be people taking issue with the content. They're not gonna just be fine with it. Because no matter what you do, there's gonna be people getting offended by it. If you decide to talk about how much you like, you know, let's say you're a Nickelback fan. You decide to talk about Nickelback. There's gonna be people offended by that notion. And then, they're gonna condemn you liking Nickelback. So, as far as, you know, inoffensive content, that is non-existent in my opinion, because anything can be offensive. On the other hand, this will, of course, minimize the amount of people that are offended, I won't deny that, but it's not gonna eliminate, you know, that reaction. It's still gonna be around, no matter what. And if anything, this is gonna make people more soft. I believe it will do that. Because if you're gonna surround people with this safety net of, oh, no one can offend you, they're gonna be way more sensitive than people who can actually take a joke. Let's continue, I guess. It has little to no inappropriate or mature content in the video stream, thumbnail or metadata, such as in the video title. If the video does contain inappropriate content, the context is usually newsworthy or comedic, and the creator's intent is to inform or entertain, not to offend or shock. Not really. This is another section I disagree with, because as far as shock and offending people goes, that is an element of comedy in a lot of cases. So for you to say that, oh, well, it's often for comedic purposes, and thus they don't intend to offend you or shock you. No, that's actually, like, part of comedy. A lot of great comedians like Carlin, you know, made their careers out of shock value, or, you know, the character they portrayed on stage, which was meant to be, like, you know, out there and offensive and very energetic. You cannot do that when you're, like, censoring yourself and limiting yourself comedically. That is just not something you can do. Well, maybe you could if you're Bill Cosby, but as we all know, you know, clean comedians aren't exactly clean all the time. Content that may be acceptable for YouTube under YouTube policies may not be appropriate for Google advertising. Well, that's your policy, Google. Last time I checked, you do own YouTube, and you do write your own policy, so you could modify this to revert back to the initial state it was in, and thus fix this issue, but you're not gonna do that, of course, that makes sense. Google's program policies provide additional guidelines for what can be monetized, and advertisers also have their own standards and requirements for content, Content that is considered inappropriate for advertising. Alright, let's go. Okay, number 1. Sexually suggestive content, including partial nudity and sexual humor. This, of course, as I said in the past, collides with the whole, you know, it's comedic, so it's not supposed to shock you. Nudity can actually be an element of comedy as well. As I said, you know, anything that's out there and any kind of exaggeration or anything preposterous or absurd can be taken comedically as a joke. Or, you know, it might be an element of a joke. So for you to say that that's just not part of humor, I mean, like, it is that. So to limit humor because it might be sexual, to me, is just silly. I mean, look, if you, let's say you own a business, you want to advertise on YouTube, you decide to invest in that. They're like, okay, well, we're gonna feature your ads on inoffensive videos. And you might say, inoffensive videos? What do you mean? Oh, well, you know, they're not supposed to be funny, they're not supposed to be doing anything that might be offensive. And you're like, well, aren't people offended by everything nowadays? Yeah, but, you know, it's only gonna show up on the videos that are inoffensive. So in other words, they're gonna treat the YouTube user base like they're kids. Not kids as in they're underage, kids as if they're f***ing toddlers. And I gotta censor myself there. Good job, Swag. I gotta start, like, adapting to this. I gotta start saying fricking instead of, you know, that word. I gotta start, I don't know, it's just not in my nature. It's just that it's gonna be a challenge for me. I know some people can just switch on and off and just adjust, but I'm not a very formal person, you know, like, when I talk to people, I'm vulgar, I like to talk about topics that, you know, are kinda controversial, because I like having heated discussions. I think that's more fun than just being like, how about that weather, you know, like, that to me is just boring. Digression aside. So here's the second point. Violence, including display of serious injury and events related to violent extremism. I can kind of see this, but isn't this something that news stations do all the time? You know, like CBS, CNN, NBC, Fox. They constantly show footage of war, and they are able to monetize that. Of course, there might be a, you know, moral outcry to that, but do I dispute their, you know, their right to do so? No, I think it's all fair game. If you report on news, you're not causing the news. Maybe you're making money off of a tragedy, but you're not the one who caused it, so why should you be punished for just merely talking about it? If anything, it's your job to cover the news and keep people informed, so I don't really take issue with that. Third point, inappropriate language, including harassment, profanity, and vulgar language. This is, as I said in the past, that this is gonna affect me, because I am a vulgar person, and vulgarity is my friend. And because of that, I'm not gonna be able to curse. Well, I might be able to curse, but I'm gonna have to censor myself. For those of you who don't know, YouTube actually did this way back in the day, I think like 2010. They told, you know, everyone basically like, no, we're gonna be family friendly. And because of that, people had to use censor, you know, these bleep noises instead of actually saying the profanity. They had to limit their videos a lot in terms of content. A lot of big channels had to remove, like, at least hundreds of videos because of this, because they might be misconstrued as offensive and thus might get them banned. Now, the only difference from that is the fact that this is, more or less blamed on advertisers, because I believe that YouTube knows that this is unrealistic, but they want to alter their format to be more family-friendly. Again, even though it didn't work the first time, this time they're blaming it on the advertiser, saying, well, they don't want their ads showing on offensive videos. When, for years and years, they have been fine with that, but apparently now it's different. As I said, I think this is all just, basically Google blaming someone else, just saying, oh, well, Snowball did it, it's not, they don't want to take that bullet, they want to blame it on someone else, so they're blaming it on this unspecified group of people, vaguely mentioned as Google advertisers. The fourth point is promotion of drugs and regulated substances, including selling, use, and abuse of such items. This is gonna be interesting because there's a lot of channels on YouTube like Custom Grow 420 or Marijuana Man. These channels are known for drug use. Even though the drug use tends to be illegal where, they're recording their videos from, because of this policy, this might actually terminate a lot of these channels. And these channels are often huge. They bring in probably hundreds of thousands of dollars per year by doing this. So this is obviously gonna affect YouTube. Will they ban these channels? I don't think so. I think YouTube is too... Okay, so there's a double standard to how users are treated on this website. I've experienced this, I'll say that. I've at some point, if you look at my oldest video on this account, I've had other accounts to compare this with. If you look at my oldest video, it got over 1 million views. And that was like under a very brief period of time. And when that happened, despite the fact that I had a copyrighted song in the video, and despite the fact that I had more copyrighted songs in other videos, YouTube turned a blind eye and let me monetize those without any claims. And there's been other channels that have done the same thing, like PewDiePie, he used to have System of a Down as his outro song. I don't know if he does anymore, I haven't watched him in like 2 years, but I recall him having that, and he never faced any copyright issues. So as far as YouTube goes, when it comes to treating their users based off of the policies, they're gonna turn a blind eye to this, hopefully, because, I like these weed channels. I think they're fun. Again, let me clarify, I don't condone drug use. There you go. Alright. So this is the last point. Controversial or sensitive subjects and events, including subjects related to war, political conflicts, natural disasters, and tragedies, even if graphic imagery is not shown. So you merely talking about these events is enough to warrant a ban, or at least the temporary suspension of your account, if YouTube still temporarily suspends people. I don't know if they do. If any of the above describes any portion of your video, then the video may not be appropriate for monetization. If monetization is approved, your video may not be eligible for available ad formats. YouTube reserves the rights to, so they can disable the ads if they want to. Some of you might be subscribed to other channels like Mr. Repsion or Boogie2988. These channels have been affected by this, to the extent where it could cripple their YouTube career. And as such, I feel as if this could very well be not the death of YouTube, but the departure of a lot of people we watch. How the CEOs and, big shots at Google thought this was a wise choice, I have no idea. But one thing's for certain. I don't plan on leaving. I don't know if anybody cares, but I don't plan on leaving. I think I'm gonna stick around, mainly because this is one of my sources of income, and also because, I like YouTube. I like it, even though there's a love-hate relationship, I still like it. I think it's fun. And for me to just pack up and leave and join, Zipcast or Dailymotion or what was it, Blip.tv? I mean, like that, what? Oh, I could move over there and get, 100 subs at best? I mean, YouTube is where it's at, sadly. This is the go-to place for video content. At least in most cases. So I don't really have many options, if at all, and the other options would just, would just make me unwilling to make any further videos because I wouldn't have an audience at that point. Even if I did have an audience, it'd be so tiny and insignificant in contrast to that one I have now that, what is the point? No, I'm not back to square one, I'm back to square minus a million. So, I don't know. I don't know if I made any sense. Whatever. I'm just indignant and just frustrated, so if I just rambled on and I just sidetracked too many times, I apologize for that, but hopefully I got my 2 cents across. If you guys have any suggestions of what I could do, let me know. I'm open to any ideas, really. It's kind of interesting because this is not, you know, I uploaded the whole safe space version thing as a joke. Days later, this gets implemented. That to me is almost, I don't know, am I getting punished by the SJW karma gods or what? Whatever, I'm confused and conflicted, you get it, but yeah. I don't know, I wanna say more on this issue, but I'm just speechless. I guess the only thing we can do now is just spectate and see how this all plays out. Because I have a sneaking suspicion that this is not gonna play in anyone's favor. Advertisers are gonna lose ad space. Google is gonna make less money. Users on this website are gonna move away and go back to just having normal jobs instead of doing YouTube for a living. A lot of people will stop making videos. A lot of accounts will be suspended, and everyone will be miserable. So, good job, Google. Good job. I'm gonna make sure not to talk about anything offensive, because, you know, that might trigger someone, and then, you know, it's bye-bye ad revenue for SWEGTA, and possibly bye-bye YouTube channel. I don't know, it's a scary thought. It's a scary thought that so many changes can just happen overnight. And it's a scary thought that this can affect so many people on such a drastic level just spontaneously, without any heads up at all. My plea to Google is to stop acting like family-friendly content is a realistic way to go. It is not. It is self-destructive. You're ruining your own website. You're ruining your own finances. I mean, I know you're the same corporation that can build self-driving cars and high-tech glasses. If you have that ability, you have the ability to make a functioning website that doesn't rely on family-friendly content and safe space environments. But as far as this goes, whatever. We'll just have to wait and see. See if Google goes back to their senses, you know? Let's see if Google decides to grow up for once. I doubt it, sadly, but who knows? Maybe they'll prove me wrong. Maybe they will be rational and, you know, pragmatic for once. Anyway, I think I'll make more videos on this as more news comes. So if you wanna see more of this, then just stay tuned. If you are uninterested, then I apologize, but this is kind of affecting me in a major way. So I just wanna talk about it. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed listening to me ramble on this incoherently for like 20 minutes, but yeah. Hope you guys have a good one. Thanks for listening.